What are occluding junctions and how do they work? Another term for occluding junctions would be tight junctions. And so with these tight junctions, basically what we're going to see are going to be interactions between proteins that are embedded in the cell membrane of one cell with a complex of proteins that is embedded within the membrane of the neighboring cell. And so a variety of proteins are going to be present here. One of the common ones is occluding. But basically what this is going to do is result in a tight connection between the membrane of these two cells. This tight connection, like the tight junctions up here, is going to contribute to kind of the rough equivalent of a Ziploc bag. These tight junctions or occluding junctions are going to be located normally towards the apical region of the cell membrane. And so if we take a look at the cross section through a cell, we've got a space or a lumen up here to the top. We've got the connective tissue, the rest of the body down here at the bottom. And this purple band are going to be our tight junctions, our occluding junctions going to going through here. So what happens then with these kind of strips of occluding junctions, these strips of tight junctions, again, like a Ziploc bag, we are going to seal off the membrane so that materials aren't able to squeeze between the membrane of these neighboring cells. Much like if you, like the commercial does, put soup into a Ziploc bag, you squeeze the two parts together, you get a yellow and blue creating green. You can then flip that upside down and shake it, and your soup is going to stay in the Ziploc bag. If in this case we've got these tight junctions here kind of sealing off the boundary between these cells, materials aren't going to be able to squeeze through the cells to go from the luminal side kind of in between these cells to what would be the basolateral side and the connective tissue down here. And so anything that has to move through this epithelium has to pass through the cells instead of passing between the cells. And if these materials pass through the cells can then regulate the passage of the materials. It may control what things are being transported across the membranes. It may modify the materials that are moved across the membrane in some way. But again, it's contributing to kind of a selectively permeable characteristic of this layer of cells, this lining epithelium, because we're not allowing things to just pass through the epithelium by squeezing between these cells. So these occluding junctions, these tight junctions, then form a Ziploc connection kind of towards the apical region of the membrane, and it's going to separate the apical domain, the apical portion of the membrane, and the apical proteins found within the membrane from the basolateral domain, the basal for the base, the lateral for the side. We can have proteins in this membrane kind of moving back and forth kind of within the layer of the membrane, but they're not normally going to go into the apical side, and proteins that are embedded within the membrane on the apical side are not going to pass into the basolateral side.